The ocean is full of predators. Sharks patrol the shallows. Barracudas flash through coral reefs. Massive whales glide silently through the deep. Every creature here follows a simple rule: eat, or be eaten. But somewhere in the darkest parts of the ocean, there is a creature that even the ocean's greatest hunters seem to avoid. A creature so mysterious, so rarely seen, that for centuries scientists weren't even sure it existed. Sailors told stories about it. Stories of enormous tentacles rising from the abyss. Stories of ships dragged beneath black water. Stories of a monster with eyes the size of dinner plates. Most people assumed those stories were just myths. Wild imagination. Sea legends. But they were wrong. Because deep below the waves, the giant squid is real. And it may be one of the most terrifying predators the ocean has ever produced. The giant squid belongs to a group of animals known as cephalopods. This strange family includes octopuses, cuttlefish, and smaller squids. They are some of the most intelligent creatures in the ocean. But the giant squid takes this body design and pushes it to an extreme. Most squids are small. A few inches long. Maybe a foot. But the giant squid can grow longer than a school bus. Some specimens have reached lengths of nearly 13 meters. That's over 40 feet. To put that into perspective, imagine a creature longer than a city bus hiding in total darkness. Waiting. Watching. And the strangest part? Despite its enormous size, the giant squid remained hidden from human eyes for most of history. For centuries, no one had ever seen one alive. Only pieces washed up on beaches. Tentacles floating at sea. Or scars carved into the bodies of deep-diving whales. Which raises a strange question. If this creature is so massive, why is it almost impossible to find? To understand this mystery, we have to go much deeper. Far below the reach of sunlight. The ocean is divided into layers. Near the surface lies the sunlight zone. Here, light fuels life. Coral reefs bloom with color. Fish dart through warm water. Plants grow and oxygen fills the sea. But once you descend past about 200 meters, everything changes. Light begins to fade. Temperature drops. And the pressure begins to rise. By the time you reach 1,000 meters deep, the ocean becomes something else entirely. A place scientists call the midnight zone. Here, there is no sunlight. No plants. And almost no oxygen. The water is cold enough to slow most living things. And the pressure would crush an unprotected human instantly. But this is exactly where the giant squid lives. In a world of permanent darkness. A place where sight is almost useless. And survival requires strange and extreme adaptations. But this is where things get strange. Because the giant squid did something no other animal has done. It evolved the largest eyes in the entire animal kingdom. The eyes of a giant squid can grow up to 27 centimeters wide. That's larger than a basketball. No animal on Earth has bigger eyes. Not whales. Not sharks. Not even elephants. At first glance, this seems almost ridiculous. Why would an animal living in total darkness evolve eyes that massive? Eyes require enormous energy to build and maintain. In evolutionary terms, that kind of investment must serve a very important purpose. And the real reason is far more surprising. Those giant eyes aren't designed to see prey. They're designed to see something far more dangerous. Deep in the midnight zone, another giant predator hunts. The sperm whale. At over 16 meters long, the sperm whale is the largest toothed predator on Earth. And unlike most whales, it dives incredibly deep. More than 1,000 meters into the darkness. Right into the territory of the giant squid. For the squid, this creates a terrifying problem. Because the sperm whale is one of the only animals powerful enough to hunt it. But in complete darkness, spotting a predator is nearly impossible. Unless you have enormous eyes. Scientists believe the giant squid's eyes are specifically designed to detect faint disturbances in the water. Tiny flashes of bioluminescence. When something massive like a sperm whale moves through the deep ocean, It disturbs tiny glowing organisms. Like plankton. They flash briefly when touched. Imagine swimming through a dark room filled with thousands of tiny glowing sparks. If something huge moves through them, you would see the glow spreading outward. That glow becomes a warning signal. And the squid's enormous eyes can detect those faint flashes from incredible distances. Which means the giant squid might see the whale coming long before the whale sees it. But that's not even the weirdest part. Because when these two giants finally meet, the ocean becomes a battlefield. When scientists began examining the bodies of sperm whales, they noticed something strange. Circular scars. Hundreds of them. Perfect rings carved deep into the whale's skin. These scars weren't random. They were left behind by giant suction cups. Each one lined with sharp, rotating teeth. The tentacles of a giant squid are not soft. They are weapons. Two of the squid's tentacles can shoot forward like harpoons. They grab prey with explosive speed. The suction cups clamp down. And their serrated edges slice into flesh. Imagine dozens of spinning cookie cutters digging into skin at once. That's the kind of grip a giant squid can produce. Once it captures something, it drags the victim toward its mouth. And that mouth hides something even more terrifying. At the center of the squid's arm sits a hard, curved beak. It looks almost like the beak of a parrot. But far stronger. This beak can slice through flesh easily. Even thick whale skin. And inside the beak, there's another strange tool. A ribbon-like tongue called a radula. Covered in tiny teeth. It works like a biological chainsaw. Pulling shredded meat down into the squid's throat. But the real mystery is this. If the sperm whale is the giant squid's greatest enemy, why do these two animals fight so often? And how do giant squid survive in a place where almost everything wants to eat them? The answer reveals something even more bizarre about these creatures. Because the giant squid is not just a deep-sea predator. It may also be one of the most elusive animals on Earth. And the deeper scientists explore the ocean, the stranger the story becomes. For centuries, the giant squid was nothing more than a ghost. A shadow in sailor stories. A monster whispered about in ship logs. People called it the Kraken. A beast so enormous it could drag entire ships into the abyss. Most scientists dismissed these stories. After all, no one had ever seen a living giant squid. Only fragments. A severed arm drifting in the waves. A body washed onto a beach. Or strange remains discovered inside the stomachs of sperm whales. But the animal itself? Alive and moving? That remained a mystery for hundreds of years. And the reason is simple. The giant squid lives in one of the most inaccessible environments on Earth. The deep ocean. A place darker than the night sky. Colder than a refrigerator. And under pressure strong enough to crush submarines. To understand why these creatures stayed hidden for so long, we need to imagine the conditions down there. At 1,000 meters deep, sunlight is completely gone. The water is near freezing. And the pressure is over 100 times stronger than at the surface. It would feel like having dozens of elephants standing on your body. Most animals simply cannot survive in these conditions. But the giant squid evolved perfectly for this brutal environment. Its body is soft and flexible. Almost gelatinous. Instead of fighting the pressure, it absorbs it. Like a water balloon drifting through the deep. But surviving in the deep sea requires more than just a flexible body. It requires a completely different strategy for finding food. Because in the midnight zone, food is incredibly scarce. Animals here may go weeks without eating. So when a meal appears, it must be captured instantly. And this is where the giant squid becomes truly terrifying. Unlike many predators, the giant squid does not constantly chase its prey. Instead, it waits. Drifting silently in the darkness. Its long feeding tentacles hanging below like fishing lines. Motionless. Patient. Watching. And when something swims close enough, the squid strikes. Those two specialized tentacles launch forward faster than the human eye can follow. They can extend several meters in a fraction of a second. The suction cups snap shut. The prey is trapped instantly. Then the arms pull the victim toward the beak. And the meal disappears into the dark. But this is where things get strange. Because the giant squid's diet is still largely a mystery. Scientists believe they eat deep-sea fish. Other squids. Possibly even small sharks. But no one has ever directly observed a giant squid hunting in the wild. Which is almost unbelievable. A predator larger than a bus. Living on our planet. Yet barely observed. But the real reason is far more surprising. Giant squids may actually be masters of invisibility. Cephalopods are famous for their ability to change color. Octopuses can instantly blend into rocks. Cuttlefish can create moving patterns across their skin. Some squids can flash colors like living neon lights. But the giant squid lives where there is almost no light. So camouflage works differently here. Instead of blending with color, they blend with darkness itself. Their bodies are deep red. Almost black. And in the deep ocean, red light disappears first. Which means red objects become nearly invisible. To many deep-sea animals, the giant squid is essentially invisible. A shadow within shadows. But camouflage is only part of the reason they remain hidden. The other reason is something even scientists didn't expect. Giant squids may spend much of their lives barely moving at all. Drifting slowly. Conserving energy. Waiting for food to come to them. This slow lifestyle helps them survive in an environment where calories are precious. But it also makes them incredibly difficult to detect. Even for modern research submarines. And that explains why the first ever photographs of a living giant squid were captured only recently. In 2004. Think about that. Human beings had built airplanes. Sent astronauts to the moon. And explored distant planets. Before we ever photographed one of the largest predators in our own oceans. But once scientists finally began observing them, they discovered something even more shocking. The giant squid is not the largest squid in the ocean. That title belongs to an even more mysterious relative. The colossal squid. If the giant squid is strange, the colossal squid is something else entirely. It is shorter in length. But far heavier. Possibly weighing over 500 kilograms. And its tentacles are armed with something far more terrifying than suction cups. Rotating hooks. Sharp, swiveling claws that can grip prey like grappling hooks. If a giant squid is a deep-sea hunter, the colossal squid may be something closer to a living nightmare. But this raises a fascinating question. Why did the deep ocean evolve such enormous creatures? Gigantism in the deep sea is actually surprisingly common. Scientists call it deep-sea gigantism. Some animals living in the deep grow far larger than their shallow-water relatives. Giant isopods. Enormous amphipods. Massive squids. But the reason for this phenomenon is still debated. One theory suggests that large body size helps animals store energy, which is extremely useful in an environment where food is rare. Another theory suggests that colder temperatures slow metabolism, allowing animals to grow slowly but steadily over time. But whatever the cause, the result is a deep ocean filled with creatures that look almost alien. Creatures that seem to belong on another planet. And the giant squid may be the perfect symbol of this hidden world.